Hi everyone, and welcome to a new short series that I want to introduce on my channel. I've seen loads of booktubers over recent months talk about their reading lives, about how they got into reading, about sort of critical books within their life that have shaped their reading life, and I wanted to make a little series about mine because I figured that I'm 31. I could potentially show up a book for every year of my life. Now, I've not planned out all of the books yet, and indeed this one today definitely won't be a book from all my early years of life because I was too young to remember, but these are books from my childhood for part one. Part one of that is actually going to be really early childhood in the form of great big typical kids books. Part two next week will probably cover slightly smaller kids short books. I've not really properly planned this out yet, but I'm really excited. I can't wait to show you all the books that have shaped my reading life. And so let's get this episode started. So the first book I'm holding up here isn't the first book I've ever picked up in my entire life, obviously, because this is huge. But this was definitely one that really stuck in my head from being a young child because there are 365 tales in this book. And so I used to try and read one a day, and I'd start it at the beginning of each year. So the beginning is like really worn away. Because every year in January I would read King Muddletop and the Scarecrow. Oh, these really bring up memories actually. Cute little drawings in it as well. So yeah, I always started this every year thinking, right, I'm going to read through this all this year, but I never ever made it all the way. Some of the stories later on I probably never even read once. I really wish that I'd somehow managed to stick with this. I think it's such a cute idea. Oh, look at that cat. I think it's such a cute idea to have one short story every day as a child. It really helps you develop the idea that reading is a muscle and all that business. With all that, if you read every day, even if it's just a little bit, so like one of these stories might take even a young child 5 minutes, like it's nothing. And so this is such a cute idea, and I really hope that there are still children's books out there like this now that encourage you to read something every day. The next book I have here is one that I don't actually remember from the cover. I was looking at it earlier thinking, I don't remember that one. And I opened it up and I was like, oh, so it's one of those where the cover means absolutely nothing to me. But the stories inside, I was like, oh yes. Mainly because you've got Goldilocks and the Three Bears in quite cute illustrated detail. Look at those bears. I really, really enjoyed this book as a child. Oh, it's got like such classics in it as well. Cinderella. Was there another one in there? Oh yeah, and Snow White as well. I think Snow White was the last one. Yes, it was. Spoiler alert, the prince wakes her up. And I don't really have much to say about this one. I do remember reading it as a young child though, and just loving to just look at the images and then read the writing, which actually for a kid's book, there's quite a bit of text per page, I feel. Don't remember what age I read this at. Then we have My 101 Dalmatians. Oh, ooh, this is loved and abused, and I feel like I got this one off a parent. This was either my mum's or my dad's, I think. So this is old. It's not surprising it's falling apart. But it is actually the proper Disney one. All the Disney images are in it. Oh, such a classic scene. And obviously this has been loved and read not only by me but by one of my parents as well. And you can't beat a good classic Disney. Next we have a book that provides quite a bit of entertainment in my family, because this was genuinely one of the first books that I ever owned. I don't really remember it as a very young age, but I remember it once I was a little bit older. And the reason why this book stands out is because it's just so ridiculous. A family member had bought it thinking, oh, there's something to help her learn to read. Granted, it must have worked because I love reading now, but this is my first ABC book, which looks quite harmless from the front, but this has some really strange words in it. So it says on the back, a delightful alphabet book for early readers, brightly illustrated with comical animal characters that every child will love. So they must have been going for the comedy aspect then, rather than the easy for a kid aspect. So A is armadillos acting, because that makes a lot of sense. Actually, this one is quite funny. Bears bathing, I quite like that page. But some of them, like armadillos for example, what? Oh, D's quite cute. Dogs driving. But I remember looking at this when I was maybe 4 or 5, like seriously looking at it. Back when you were doing the alphabet at school. Obviously I already knew my alphabet because I was a bookworm. But I do remember looking at it again then and being like, how come at school we learn these words, but in this book it's got really difficult words. But we have hippos hurrying. So yeah, this one really stands out in my reading mind as one of the first books. Like, I mean, come on, jaguars jogging and kangaroos kicking. It just really stands out because it's just such a ridiculous book. And it's always been one of those books that my parents have been like, remember that book? Well, yeah, of course I remember it. I still have it because I keep all my books. Penguins parading. I mean, I'm not being funny, but what child's going to be able to even say tobogganing? Tigers tobogganing. Walruses washing. But yeah, this one's just got quite a lot of fond memories in terms of just making fun of this book, basically. I was one of those children where I was eager to learn to read, so I didn't need this an awful lot. My parents actually used to just sit me down with newspapers and magazines and I'd try and pick out words out of that, so I didn't need this. The final book I have to show you, I am mainly showing you because it's a great big kind of hard back kind of book rather than because it's young childhood, because I don't really know what age I got it from, but I feel like this should have been at least a little bit older. And this is Aesop's Fables. And this one, I do remember reading the odd one here and there. But it's definitely like slightly smaller font, slightly more detailed images. It's more about slightly older children. It's got like a moral of the story with each one. The illustrations are just beautiful. The Boy and the Wolf. Oh, the fox. Look at the fox. So yeah, this is a really beautiful book that I used to just sit and read the occasional story out of. I wouldn't sit and read the entire thing, working through it a bit each night. But I did read just random little bits of it. But it's such a nice, solid, colourful, wonderful book that I am probably going to keep forever, to be honest. I'll probably keep all of these books forever because I'm just rubbish at letting them go. But yeah, that brings us to the end of part 1. I want to label part 1 as early childhood books, but I really don't feel like that's the end of them. So I'm going to do 5 books a week for each part until we're done with my reading life. But that was the stage of my reading life that I don't really properly remember, so I couldn't go into a lot of detail with that, but I do remember sitting and reading them, looking over them, and that's about as far as it goes for these books. Obviously as I get a little bit older I'll start remembering more details, but yeah, that brings us to the end of part 1. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you want to see more book reviews and other bookish content from me, and I will see you on Sunday with a book haul. Bye bye!